Thanks for joining us this week on Email Geeks at Home Drinking Coffee. Join your hosts Chris Marriott and Paul Schreiner each week as they talk email marketing, life, purpose, faith, but mainly email marketing. If you're looking for some normalcy in these crazy times, you've come to the right place.
Hey everybody, Paul Schreiner here with my best friend
Chris Marriott. Hello, everybody.
Best, it might be email podcast best friend, but I don't think we need to qualify. Just like Chris wouldn't do that for me.
No, I wouldn't say my best friend in Tennessee.
No.
Partially because I'm very good friends with our producer David Inman, who also is in Tennessee, and partially because I don't like to parse these things.
No, like leave something to mystery.
Right.
We have kind of a special episode today. Our guest for this week actually got sick, and we pushed him back, and that's okay. It'll be a great episode when it airs.
Yep.
But I created the opportunity for what we call kind of a bonus episode, and a bonus episode is just it's sort of exploring some of the areas that come up as we're sort of talking with folks. And one of the things that actually comes up a lot more than you would expect, Mr. Marriott, people want to know about you. Not like
not me, right?
But
not what makes Chris Marriott tick.
No, but again, so many of us, like when we're at a conference or whatever, online discussion, we're sort of leading with relationships we've had forever. So we miss out a little bit on just getting to know each other. And so, this bonus episode was just, I thought, let's dedicate to Chris Marriott a little bit. It's not an infomercial, but I've known him long enough that, still a good friend. And I think he has a lot of things that are worth listening to. And so with that, Chris, cheers.
Cheers.
I've got a mint tea I made from mint leaves in the garden today.
I'm hydrating with a little bit of sparkling ice because even though we're email geeks who drink coffee, it's the recording of this is mid-afternoon.
Yeah.
We don't drink coffee. I have a coffee cup, just for those of you who miss the coffee cup, and it's filled with cold coffee left over from this morning. Also, lots of beverage consumption today. There's a V8 here, low sodium V8. So
good idea.
Beverages everywhere you look.
So
what do you want to know, Paul?
Yeah,
what do you want to know?
Let's start with kind of our way out and zoom our way in. You currently live in Illinois.
Yep.
Where were you born?
I was born in Houston, Texas, as a matter of fact.
You were? I had no idea.
Yeah. Houston, Texas. So I'm a Southerner by birth.
Now, how did you end up in, you're in Forest Park, is that right? Is that the name of Illinois?
Lake Forest.
Lake Forest. And I said Illinois earlier to see if I could get you to squirm.
No, you just sound like an uneducated Southerner when you say
which I am, right? No,
right.
So you're from so you were born in Houston, Texas, and somehow migrated up to Lake Forest, Illinois.
Via Baltimore, Greenwich, Connecticut, and then Lake Forest.
So your family moved a lot growing up.
When we were young, they moved a lot. When I was young, they moved a lot, but then they settled in Lake Forest for about a 12-year stretch that enabled me to go completely kindergarten through high school in one place, and then they started moving again, and they moved literally three times while I went to college. And I did graduate in 4 years, so that's 3 times in 4 years.
Wow. Now, where did you go to college?
Went to Dartmouth College in New Hampshire.
Dartmouth College in New Hampshire. That's a fairly prestigious school.
Yeah, I guess so.
Don't worry. No one's gonna be like, "Oh, Chris is too."
Nobody's gonna be watching it. So this episode, because they haven't even gotten this far. They were like,
"Oh,
Marriott." So you're right. They haven't gotten this far. So if you're still here, the room is Dartmouth green. You might notice.
Oh yes.
In fact, there's a Dartmouth diploma back there, as well as a little etching of the campus right there. So
you went to
Dartmouth.
Dartmouth.
Went to Duke. There's Dukes back there as well. If you have sharp-eyed, my wife Betsy went to Duke.
Okay, so you went to Dartmouth. When you first got in, was that a moment of like, I can't believe I did this? This is the best thing, or was it like, whatever? I've been here before.
No. I didn't. I waited until the very last day where you had to say where you were going to tell Dartmouth I was going to go there rather than go to Colgate,
Okay.
because everyone in our family had been. I mean, we were a big at that point a big Dartmouth family. My older brother was there. I had two cousins there. My dad had graduated from there. Again, it was a bit of a, I wanted to sort of break out from the expectation that we all go to Dartmouth. And,
Okay.
but so it was really, again, a game, literally a game day decision where you had to postmark and tell them you were going or not.
Right.
Because this is back before the internet.
Sure.
Postmark, there's a lot of, the millennials are watching this going, what's a postmark?
Right.
That's what they put on the stamp to make sure you can't use it again.
Right.
Post office puts that on there. And it also has the date on it, so
Right.
which tells you when it was sent. But anyway, I almost forgot what my
No, it's all good. So you went to Dartmouth and spent 4 years there, graduated. What was your degree in?
double major history of music.
History of music. Okay. You, after college, I know you were in a band. What was the name of the band?
Well, I was working. I mean, I never actually pursued a music career, but
Okay, Chris, stay on task here. What was the name of the band?
the first band I was in after college was called Personal Effects.
Personal Effects, not affects, but FX.
Effects, like your personal effects. It's like when you and David are going to a meeting. It's like, David, just pack up your personal effects.
Yeah.
Let's get moving.
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah, the things that your personal effects.
Those personal effects. And now you've been in other bands too. What other bands are there?
Personal Effects. The two big bands, post-college bands, were Personal Effects and then Where's Jane?
Where's Jane? And these took a lot of time. And I've actually talked with folks like Jose Cebrian who were like, no, you don't get how big of a music presence that Chris had. I mean, like you had quite a following.
We were well known in certain bars in Southern Connecticut.
Yeah,
we had a following.
You had groupies. You had people that would come. Like if I put on a concert, my family and friends would come because I made them. There were people that didn't know you that showed up who were like, "This is a pretty good band."
Well, they were interested to see if Jane would actually show up or not, and they were usually disappointed. There was that time Jane did show up, and so for that performance, we were called "There's Jane" rather than "Where's Jane."
Well, I'm glad because I had in my head this idea that maybe there was a Saturday Night Live influence there on where the name came from.
No. It was actually, she was the then wife of the guitar player. And at one point she wanted to be in the band and, playing the tambourine because that's all she could play.
That's what I play. I straight up kill the tambourine, Chris.
And she was good at it, but and the practice was at his house, and the band would show up, and there was no Jane, and we'd always be, "Where's Jane?" She wants to be in the band. Where's Jane?
Where's Jane?
And so eventually, fun story. So eventually, we said that's the name of the band, and the company I worked for, we had a bunch of designers, and I said, hey guys, design a logo for Where's Jane.
Yes.
And so a couple of guys did, tried to do it, and when we selected one that we liked and went with it. And it wasn't until a few months later that somebody pointed out there's no question mark after Where's Jane. Your name is a statement, not a question. And we thought, well, that's heavy. We never how can we miss no question mark? But it was too late to change it. So we were Where's Jane, not Where's Jane.
Okay.
Subtle difference.
Yeah, no, that's good. But now I know also part of that time you were working at Axios, which is kind of your foray into the digital marketing, email kind of.
It was my foray into email. I had been actually in the mid '90s worked at a shop that, believe it or not, their bread and butter was doing annual reports. That wasn't what they brought me in to do,
right.
Of course. I was running their advertising wing, but because annual reports required so many things to be sent to the printer, you had to set the type on so many pages that they had very early on introduced computers to their creative team so that they could create mechanicals could be sent digitally.
Yeah.
So way ahead of advertising agencies at that time, design shops like this one, everybody used computers.
Yeah.
And 95 was when the internet, commercial web,
Yep.
really became a thing, and you had web agencies starting. And the creative director and I turned this into sort of pivoted a big part of the business to do interface design and web design. And that's where I got into it. But I got into email when I went to join a little company called Digital Impact, which 5 months after I joined them, they were bought by Axiom. So
got it. Okay. So,
people in the email community know me from Axiom much
Right.
more than they know me from Digital Impact.
So you spent some time at Axiom, and we've kind of touched that. I don't necessarily want to go into that right now, because what I'd like to get to is where you're at now and sort of the thread that got us there, because I think that's kind of interesting. So you were at Axiom, and essentially there was a splitting of ways from Axiom. And again, I know that there
We talked about this in episode 1, so it's not news. Yeah, I wanted to stay, and they wanted me to go.
I mean, you know, so similar to my family. You know what I mean? They're like, he's still here. No,
right.
No. But no. So now you're stuck. You're in a place where you don't have a job. You're no longer with Axiom, which was a big name, but you have a big name in the industry. People know you, and you're faced with some decisions. And somehow you connect with David Daniels in this process. Yes.
Yep. Yeah, when it had really was suggested by one of the guys that I worked for at Axiom, Tim Souther, great guy, great boss, great mentor, and he had run, as when he had been my boss, he had run these client events where I was the in-house speaker to our top clients talking about digital and email trends, and David Daniels was the guy we brought in. He was at Forrester at the time.
Got it.
And so he was the outside speaker. So it was the Chris and David show. Tim said, to me, after I left Axiom, why don't you reach out to David? I think you guys would make a good team. And he was right. And because David had, up to that time, the Relevancy Group had primarily been, its clients were vendors, were the ESPs themselves. And David knew everybody at all the major ESPs. Nobody knew platforms better than David, the differences in them. He was the master of all of that. But the Relevancy Group at that time was really about lead gen and analyst services for the vendor. Right. So my concept that I went to him with was one that would appeal to the other side of the aisle, as I'd like to say. If he was servicing the sell side, I said, why don't we need to create a product for the buy side in the vendor landscape. And the advertising world for years had companies that were called search consultancies, where a big company like Ford Motor Company would say, we need a new advertising agency, and they would hire this consultancy to help them run the process of finding a new agency. And these consultancies were expected to have deep understandings of all the agencies, their differences, to have processes, to understand how to negotiate contracts. And I thought, you know what? That's something that I think a lot of marketers, when they were looking at new vendors, ESPs, would find tremendously valuable, because by then, this is around 2012, the ESP market had become so complex that then marketers were having I could see we're having a lot of trouble figuring out how to, who do we invite? How do we know who to invite to pitch our business? And how do we tell which one to pick? So I said to David, you understand the vendors deeply. I understand what marketers are looking for, because they've been my clients for the past 8 years at Axiom. Why don't we do the same thing that they've been doing in advertising agencies, and also offer services to marketers to help them through the RFP process? And he liked that idea, and he got a call from Ryan Deutsch at Sears, who ran their email business at Sears. I mean, funny how these things come together. Ryan Deutsch called him up and said, hey, do you know anybody who can help manage our RFP?
And you know how many
literally, and David was like, yeah,
I got a guy. Well, and
I knew Ryan already. I mean, it came together perfect. I knew Ryan from the email marketing world. He had worked at Strong Mail before going to Sears. So yeah, David said, yeah, Chris Merritt and I can do it. And Ryan said, that's awesome. You're hired.
Cool. Well, and you know, a couple things that right off the top of my head is marketers I know are not effective negotiators. They're good marketers, right? So when we put in their lap and they're like, we need you to negotiate this contract for us, right? It's like, holy smokes, I'm overwhelmed by deadlines, by all these other things. So the idea of representing here's our needs. Who do I invite? All of those pieces. Most of the marketers I know are the kindest people I've ever met in my life. And so the idea of them doing a negotiation to get a good deal, I just don't see it happening. So I totally see, a space in the market, right? Hiring someone on that knows things better than me, and I can just say, get me a good deal, right? So that totally makes sense. So you and David are working together, and there's a point where you guys also split. You just found that, and also I'd like to point out the number of @ signs we're creating in this show is absolutely spectacular. You know what I mean?
I love it.
Everyone's going to be tagged. I'm going to see if I can get some more in here. But anyway, so you and David are working together. He's a great guy. But the two of you decide we are two very different entities, such that there's almost a conflict that was arising between sort of buyer and seller and needing to sort of create a separation. And that's when you broke off, parted ways. Hey, best friend, thanks, hug, all that stuff. But we parted ways, and you created a new entity called
Marketing Democracy.
Marketing Democracy. Okay, so, and you were doing this for a long time, and part of this, I do want to again talk more about what you do, because I think again.
Well, I think you touched on. I want to go back to what because you made an interesting. I mean, you got it quicker than we got it, and what I mean by that is you understood the negotiation angle.
Right.
Because when we started this at Relevancy Group, we thought the value of doing this would be primarily, we know the vendor landscape, we know who to invite, we'll manage the process for you so you can do your day job. But we soon realized, and by soon I mean several RFPs down the road,
right,
that overriding value was what you talked about, the negotiation. Suddenly, we realized we had better insight into pricing.
Yeah, you knew.
And anybody on the planet, than literally anyone on the planet. We saw
you knew their playbook.
Right. We saw so many pricing proposals in the RFPs we ran that we knew. Again, we could map out what the CPM levels were for various email volumes and discuss. So
it's interesting you say your floor is this, because your floor for Sears was substantially lower.
Exactly. So then we started. So then it really became, we're self-liquidating. We will save you more money than you pay us when it comes to negotiating. Because, and even when there's a procurement team there, and there often is a procurement team, they last negotiated an ESP deal 3 to 5 years ago. They have no idea.
They don't know market prices. They look, let's see what they say. Here, I'm looking at the Salesforce Marketing Cloud pricing website. Is this a good price? No.
The standard negotiation with procurement is, let them chop 10% off so they can feel like they got their, earn their money. But the reality is there could be a 30% chop you could get if you really knew where to look.
Well, and the magic there is you charge 3%. I mean, not really, but you charge 3% and save them 30%. And so, they net 27% better deal all day long. Okay.
Right.
So you Marketing Democracy, new company, you're hitting it. People are excited. What's the biggest, you don't have to say the name, because that'd be weird. What's the biggest agreement you've negotiated, whether it's subscriber volume, total revenue, something like that?
Wow. Probably a 3-year, like $15 million contract. We've worked with.
So the agreement was $15 million over 3 years, so $5 million a year.
Yep.
How much would they have paid without you?
it's hard. That is, unfortunately, that's almost impossible to.
No, play the game, Chris. Play the game.
I'll play the game. I mean, we probably saved them $1 million.
Okay, so they would have paid 16.
Yeah.
16. And how much would you have charged in that case?
A tenth of that million we saved them, maybe $100,000.
Again, easy math. Okay, cool.
Right, easy math.
And so, but you and I worked together on a friend of mine company.
Big and small.
Yeah, small. They're music. They work with songwriters and musicians. Super cool. Scenes Media. Harold Fickett. Another ad sign there, Chris.
There we go. Another ad sign. Right? Just dropping names left and right.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not pandering. Who's pandering? You're pandering. So, Harold, you introduced him. Hey, these are the 3 or 4 different ESPs you should be talking to based off their needs. Made the introduction, had them do the interview. They go in and they come back and I don't remember what the total was, nor am I going to say the name of the ESP. I'll drop that name later so that they don't, so they can maintain their. But it was like
the North Figure Nation status.
Right. They were like a $20,000 bill, right? And you made a call. And the next thing I know is it's down to like $5,500 for the year. And I was like, how did this just happen, right? Like, and you like that went from 20,000 to 5,000. That's and part of it is, again, you twisted arms, you did all the things that you can do. But again, to me, I'm like, anytime I'm negotiating anything, Chris Marriott's at my table.
Well, I mean, I'll give you another example of I mean, we negotiated a deal on behalf of another client where there was a very large annual fee put in for deliverability services, but the client, and I mean, again, I don't expect marketers to be able to connect these dots, but the reality is the email program that they were running was not a blast or batch campaign program. It was individual triggered emails, renew this, do that, so they were emails that were going in one-off. So I said to them, there's nothing they can monitor. It's not like you're going to get, these massive blocks because you're not sending massive campaigns.
Right.
I can save you $30,000 a year off your contract. And it wasn't a big contract. This wasn't a $15 million. This is maybe a $250,000 a year contract. And I said, let's just X out this $30,000 a year for the deliverability, because again, you don't need it. It's not going to help you at all. Right. And again, they wouldn't have known that. Their procurement wouldn't have known that. But I knew that, and I saved them a ton of money.
Well, and so for scenes, I'm going to bring it back to that because, again, I want to demonstrate just the value of it. You're talking about, hey, I saved them $15,000 a year. You didn't charge them because you're a good person. But the plan was $500, right? Like pretty in and out the door. That's an easy yes, right? But to save that kind of money, which when you're talking about in the middle of a pandemic, money is tight, that's magic. Okay. I feel like we've hit that ball pretty hard.
We've hit that. Yeah, if you're still with us, God bless you. Because
more ad signs, Chris. More ad signs. So
if you're still here, wow.
So
you're a fan. You're a true fan.
Marketing democracy.
Yep.
You get a letter in the mail.
Okay. Yes.
About a year ago, and we don't have a ton of time to do this, but I do want to. Still.
Right. All right. So
you get a letter in the mail, and what does that letter say?
All right. So let me go back. So when Daniels and I split the company, and as you said, it was amicable. The reasons you said why we had to do it were exactly right. Vendors that were our clients felt that some of them felt like they should be winning the RFPs we were running because they were our clients, and which of course was not the case. Right. You had to win it on your own, and some marketers began to be concerned that we had some vendors as clients, some that weren't, and could we be honest brokers? So you're right. I mean, we got so successful so fast that it imploded, and so we split the business. David kept the vendor side. I took the email RFP consulting side. But we decided to do this, and I basically had 2 weeks to launch a company. And I'd already owned the URL www.marketing-democracy.com. I bought it several years earlier because I used to give a speech at Axiom called Winning Elections in a New Marketing Democracy. And I thought one day I might write a book or do something about it. Haven't done that, but so I own this URL. So I thought I got to get a logo. I got to launch a website. I got to launch a company. I'll call myself Marketing Democracy. So that's about the level of thought I put into, the company name back in 2015 when it happened. So you're right. So, and here's interesting. When I bought that URL, the reason I had the hyphen in there was because as I was looking at it, I thought, oh, there's another Marketing Democracy called The Marketing Democracy. It seems to be an agency. So, and they already own The Marketing Democracy, so I can't buy that. So I'll take the hyphen.
Yep.
Didn't think anything more about it.
Yep. I'll take the hyphen.
I'll take the hyphen. We do different things. I don't care, same name, whatever.
Yeah.
So then let's see. A year ago, May, right before, like the Friday before Memorial Day weekend, I get a letter. I get a cease and desist letter. You never want registered mail. It was registered mail. You never want. It's like, no, don't give me that.
I'm not gonna sign for this.
All right, I'm not gonna write.
I don't sign it.
Cease and desist from the other Marketing Democracy.
How dare you?
And I've been using the name, and here's what kills me. And I mean, this is almost it's almost not believable.
Right.
The other market, I'm in Lake Forest, Illinois. One of the towns that border us is a town called Highland Park, Illinois.
Yeah.
Literally border. I mean, I could walk in 2 minutes and I'd be crossing the border into Highland Park, Illinois. Well, where do you think the other Marketing Democracy was headquartered?
I don't know. Let me, Omaha, Nebraska?
Highland Park, Illinois, correct.
You know who is from Omaha, Nebraska?
Omaha Steaks?
No, I was going to go with Chandler Hayda, but also
another okay. Well,
ignore me. Just another outside.
So they were in. So I mean, they're literally right next door, and they'd gotten one of their clients. I mean, I don't want to say too much just because I mean I could really rag on the whole thing, but one of their clients, one of their maybe two clients had alerted them that there was another Marketing Democracy.
One of their that's
after
called
4 years. After 4 years, they suddenly noticed, and they now only need a cease and desist. And before I could say Gesundheit, I'd spent $2,500 with the lawyer.
Right.
I mean, 25, just getting advice saying, what would you do? And he said, and his advice was basically, and it cost me $2,500, is you could fight it in court, you probably win, but guess how much you're going to have paid me by the time you've won. Right. And I thought, that's not a good business decision. And I talked to a friend of mine who was a head of marketing for eData Source. And I said, what would you do if you were me? And he said, listen, your name sucks. I mean, Marketing Democracy says nothing about what you do. He literally said, your name sucks. And I said, you know what? I went home and talked to my wife, and she said, yeah, he's right. Your name, she was a little bit nicer. She said, your name doesn't really say anything what you do. And so I just decided, you know what, I'm going to change the name. And you were part of you were one of the people that I, went to and said, what, out of this list of names, what would you do? And I think you and I had probably more conversations on what and you were one of the ones who said you like the email connect. And
I remember, right, you called and it was something like this: Paul, my life is coming to an end. I don't know what to do.
Right. Well, that's when you call your best friend in Tennessee.
So anyway, so you changed the name, and actually you landed on.
And I got to keep the same logo. I got to keep, because two, Marketing Democracy, Email Connect. So.
Well, I think Email Connect is a better name. I do.
Oh, well, you said so then, right? And you're right. I think it's a much better name. And this is again, once you get your ego out of the way, because I was mad. It's like, how dare she try? How dare she make me change my name? How dare she sue me? How dare she?
Right.
But then I thought, you know what? But once your ego is out of it, it's like, who cares? Who cares? Yeah, do I have some merch with Marketing Democracy logo on it? Sure.
How does one get that old merch from you?
Is it well? You know what? I've got a.
Seems
like think about a way. Maybe if you've gotten this far in the episode,
Maybe a giveaway, just saying.
Maybe a giveaway. If you actually got to this point in the episode, send an email. What's our email again, Paul?
Email geekscoffee@gmail.com.
Send us an email saying, I want some of the action. And you might get a shirt. You might actually find, I want in on the action. Send us an email that says, I want in on the action. And
there you go.
And you might just find a limited edition Marketing Democracy T-shirt coming your way.
This sounds amazing. Now, Chris, I do one thing, and I know we're running short on time.
Yeah.
But what I do want to point out, because I know we're kind of poking fun about you and people not wanting to listen, but I do think there is something unique here, and this has come up many times for me when people are talking to me, both about audience point, what we're doing, how we're doing it, all that, but also you, right? There's so much interest and curiosity from the outside around, like, how do you start a business? I want to be the boss. I want to have my own thing, right? And and I think it helps to understand the story of how people got there who are successful, right? Because, like, where did this idea come from for being able to sort of create a marketing democracy for selecting your email service provider? Well, it came from all of this past that led you up until this moment, right?
Yep.
And so like, someone else's history that gets them to a given point, it's not going to be the same, but it is, there's going to be similar common threads and how you go about making decisions. And when you can hear other people make those decisions, you can start applying that to your own life and going, because the number of people who reach out and be like, I'm thinking about starting a business, Paul, I'm thinking about doing it. And my answer is always, are you sure this is a good idea?
Right. Well, and you're exactly right. I mean, I took to some of my experience, identified what I saw was a potential new competitive space that, because nobody was doing it. I mean, some people were doing it. Forrester does some RFPs occasionally, and some email agencies do, but nobody was laser beam focused saying, this is all we do.
Right.
And for somebody who wants to start their own business, I think one of the critical things is look for that competitive, where you can create new competitive space.
So marketing an opportunity shows up where you got a unique opportunity where you're like, this is a thing. There's a thing underneath it. There's things around it. There's a thing here, right?
Yep.
You also need, the experience to be able to pull it off yourself, because there's lots of people who are totally inexperienced that can't or don't have the resources in their life to be like, hey, how do I assemble a balance sheet, right? Or whatever it is.
Oh, right. It pays. I mean, David Daniels was a mentor to me in that regard, because I learned a lot about running your own business from David. Doug Steinberg, who runs an email or an agency, digital agency called Magnetic, who created my company's website. He's been a mentor. He's given me a lot. He told me where to go, how to get my logo done.
And let's talk about supportive families, right? Like your wife said, I see things in you that will make you successful, and I believe in you, and I trust you, and I'm standing behind you. And without that, you're not even off the ground. So thank you to supportive partners, right?
Yes, thanks to my wife. Yep, Betsy has been great.
Another outline.
And again, she's an advisor. I mean, again, she was the one that tipped me over the edge on the name change. When she said, I think you just need to change it. That's when I made up my mind that it was the right thing to do.
And then a couple more things I think worth mentioning that I know is just inherent in who you are. There's a little bit of luck that happens, just meeting
dumb
dumb luck, but also just hustle. Like, one of the things that I know about you is when we're at conferences, you're always on. You're like, who else can I talk to? Who else can I talk to? Right? But it's not just at conferences, right? You're always working, because there's this, and it's not this dark or deceptive thing. It's a very honest, like, I have one option, and that is success, because the only way we're succeeding is through my own hustle. And so, like, working with Scenes Media, like, it wasn't easy for you to be like, I'm going to throw this in for free, but you did it because it was like, this is part of the hustle, right?
Yep.
And again, when people are like, should I start a business? those are the things I really want people to get, right? Like idea, opportunity, supportive cast, a little bit of dumb luck, but crazy amounts of hustle.
No, and you're right, Paul. I mean, particularly because in our line of work, it's all projects. So you're right. I mean, and that's part of why I can't wait until we can do real conferences again, because you and I do our best work in person. I know everybody's going, "Oh, you guys are great on Zoom," but but we do our best work in person, and I have to be hunting all the time. I can't tend to field. I mean, every time, every client engagement I have is going to end in a specific period of time, and then they're not a client anymore. No matter how well I do, RFPs end. That's what they pay me to do. Finish
4
the
years
RFP.
now.
And you know what? None of my clients have done another RFP since then.
They found the right one.
They're all very happy with what they've gotten. So
You're a matchmaker.
I've got to find new business all the time. So you're right. But you got to enjoy the hustle if you're going to start your own business. You have to enjoy the hustle.
And I'm so glad we ended up here, because this is a fantastic place to end.
I agree.
Thank you for sharing your story. Again, I love, these are the moments. This is why I do this kind of podcast with you, is to get to know others, to get to know you better. So thank you, Chris, for sharing. Hopefully, we have of the 3 people still listening.
Right. Remember, get that email in, and you could possibly find yourself in possession of a Marketing Democracy limited edition T-shirt.
So bonus episode drops. Thanks for listening. We'll start up season 3 next week.
Yeah, we're very excited about it. So thanks, Paul. It was great talking to you today. Thanks, producer David. I'm sorry you don't get to appear today, but that's just the way it is. But as always, folks, he's back there pulling the levers, getting the show on air. So thanks, everybody, and we'll see you next week.
Sounds good.